The country in the vicinity of Flat Rock was full of hiding places, and that was supposed to be the home of the Fire Bear. The morning after Polly and Balser had seen the Fire Bear, they went forth bright and early to follow the tracks of their fiery enemy, and, if possible, to learn where he had gone after his unwelcome visit. They took up the spoor at the point where the bear had crossed the river the night before, and easily followed his path 3 or 4 miles down the stream. There they found the place where he had crossed the river to the east bank. The tracks, which were plainly visible in the new-fallen snow, there turned southeast toward his reputed home among the caves and gullies of Flat Rock and Con's Creek. The trackers hurried forward so eagerly in their pursuit that they felt no fatigue. They found several deer, and at one time they saw at a great distance a bear. But they did not pursue either, for their minds were too full of hope that they might discover the haunts of the monster upon whose death depended, as they believed, their lives and that of Lenny Fox. When Balser and Polly reached the stony ground of Flat Rock, the bear tracks began to grow indistinct, and soon they were lost entirely among the smooth rocks from which the snow had been blown away. The boys had, however, accomplished their purpose, for they were convinced that they had discovered the haunts of the bear. They carefully noticed the surrounding country, and spoke to each other of the peculiar cliffs and trees in the neighborhood, so that they might remember the place when they should return. Then they found a dry little cave, wherein they kindled a fire and roasted a piece of venison which they had taken with them. When their roast was cooked, they ate their dinner of cold hoe cake and venison, and then sat by the fire for an hour to warm and rest before beginning their long, hard journey home through the snow. Polly smoked his after-dinner pipe. The pipe was a hollow corn cob with the tip of a buck's horn for a stem, and the two bear hunters talked over the events of the day and discussed the coming campaign against the Fire Bear. "I suppose we'll have to hunt him by night," said Polly. "He's never seen at any other time, they say." "Yes, we'll have to hunt him by night," said Balser. "But darkness will help us in the hunt, for we can see him better at night than at any other time, and he can't see us as well as he could in daylight." "Balser, you surprise me," answered Polly. "Have you hunted bears all this time and don't know that a bear can see as well after night as in the daytime?" "Better, maybe." "Maybe that's so," responded Balser. "I know that cats and owls can see better by night, but I didn't know about bears. How do you know it's true?" "How do I know? Why, didn't that there bear make a beeline for this place last night? And wasn't last night as dark as the inside of a whale? And don't they go about at night more than in daytime? Tell me that. When do they steal sheep and shoats? In daytime? Tell me that. Ain't it always at night? Did you ever hear of a bear stealing a shoat in the daytime? No, sirree, but they can see the littlest shoat that ever grunted on the darkest night, see him and snatch him out of that pen and get away with him quicker than you or I could, a dern sight." "I never tried, did you, Polly?" asked Balser. Polly wasn't above suspicion among those who knew him, and Balser's question slightly disconcerted him. "Well, I derned if that ain't the worst fool question I ever heerd a boy ask," answered Polly. Then, somewhat anxious to change the conversation, he continued, "What night do you propose to come down here? Tomorrow night?" "Nah, not for a week. Not till 7 nights after tonight," answered Balser, mindful of the charm which he hoped Lenny's prayers would make for him. "7 nights? Jiminy! I'm afraid I'll get scared of this place by that time. I bet this an awful place at night. Nothing but great chunks of blackness in these here gullies, so thick you could cut it with a knife. I'm not afraid now because I'm desperate. I'm so afraid of dying because I saw the Fire Bear that I don't seem to be afraid of nothing else." Polly was right. There's nothing like a counter fear to keep a coward's courage up. After they were warm and had rested, Balser and Polly went out of the cave and took another survey of the surrounding country from the top of the hill. They started homeward and reached the cozy cabin on Blue River soon after sunset, tired, hungry, and cold. A good warm supper soon revived them, and as it had been agreed that Polly should remain at Mr. Brent's until after the fire bear hunt, they went to bed in the loft and slept soundly till morning. After Balser announced his determination to hunt the fire bear, many persons asked him when he intended to undertake the perilous task, but the invariable answer he gave was that he would begin after the 7th night from the one upon which the fire bear had visited Blue River. "Why after the 7th night?" was frequently asked, but the boy would give no other answer. Balser had invited Tom Fox to go with him, and Tom, in addition to his redoubtable hatchet, intended to carry his father's gun. Polly would take Mr. Brent's rifle, and of course Balser would carry the greatest of all armaments, his smooth-bore carbine. Great were the preparations made in selecting bullets and in drying powder. Knives and hatchets were sharpened until they were almost as keen as a razor. Many of the men and boys of the neighborhood volunteered to accompany Balser, but he would take with them no one but Tom and Polly. "Too many hunters spoiled the chase," said Balser, borrowing his thought from the cook's and the broth maxim. Upon the morning of the 8th day, Balser went over to see Lenny, and to receive from her the precious charm redolent with 49 prayers from her pure heart. When she gave it to him, he said, "It's a charm." "I know it is." And he held it in his hand and looked at it affectionately. "It looks like a charm, and it feels like a charm. Lenny, I seem to feel your prayers upon it." "Oh, Balser, don't say that. Sounds almost wicked." "It has seemed wicked all the time for me to try to make a charm." "Oh, don't feel that way, Lenny. You didn't try to make it. You only prayed to God to make it, and God is good and loves to hear you pray. If He don't love to hear you pray, Lenny, He don't love to hear anyone." "No, Balser, I'm so wicked. The night we saw the fire bear, Father read in the Bible where it says, 'The prayers of the wicked availeth not.' Oh, Balser, do you think it's wicked to try to make a charm? That is, to pray to God to make one." "No, indeed, Lenny. God makes them of His own accord. He made you." But Lenny only half understood. The charm worked at least one spell. It made the boy braver and gave him self-confidence. Balser, Tom, and Polly had determined to ride down to Flat Rock on horseback, and for that purpose one of Mr. Fox's horses and 2 of Mr. Brent's were brought into service. At 3 o'clock upon the famous 8th day, the 3 hunters started for Flat Rock and spent the night in the vicinity of the mouth of Con's Creek, but they did not see the fire bear. 4 other expeditions were made, for Balser had no notion of giving up the hunt, and each expedition was a failure. But the 5th, well, I'll tell you about it.